Welcome to episode 38 of From the Shed End podcast. Myself, TDOT, joined with Theo and Haida. How you both doing?
Good stuff, man. We've had a really good week, so I'm still buzzing, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward question at the moment. How are you? For Chelsea fans, it's always we're good. With the way performances and results are going, it's happy days.
Yeah, can't complain, can we? And let's take it all the way back to Tuesday. I think we both said, Theo, on Tuesday when we recorded on the morning, I said 1-0. I think you said 2-0 or 2-1.
I think I might have changed it to 2-1 on the Tuesday with the injuries.
4-0. 4-0. No. Did any of us see that coming? Because
No.
I'll be honest, I didn't see it. So, but
I thought we'd be lucky to get a win. I thought it might have been a 1-1, just purely based on their defense. But we're at 4-0 and the performance itself, not just the numbers of the goals, but the performance was just.
It was brilliant. It was superb. It was a superb performance, and to be honest, I think we spoke again, Theo, as well about Trevor Chalobah. Should he start? Should we bring in Christensen and go for that bit more experience? But yeah, let's start with Trevor because he was superb. He was superb, Theo, and he was. I think what I like about him, obviously we spoke about him before. He's 22. He carries himself really well. He's brilliant football-wise as well in terms of getting the ball. He's not scared to take the ball forward, take players on. He commands the area as well. He's just a brilliant centre-back overall. But talk to me, Theo, about Trevor and how well he played against Juventus.
He's a brilliant player. He makes his Chelsea debut, wins the Super Cup, makes his Premier League debut, scores a goal at Stamford Bridge and keeps a clean sheet, makes his Champions League debut against Juventus, Serie A winners Juventus, scores a goal that a striker would be proud of, and then also keeps a clean sheet against, a very good Juventus side. So, yeah, he's a brilliant player. He's composed on the ball. He's mature, like we spoke about on Tuesday. He brings a lot of calmness as well to the game. You see sometimes defenders and they kind of, I don't want to call out names, but, maybe a bit more Malong-Sarr, he kind of shows a bit more inexperience at times when he's on the ball. You're a bit more worried. But with Trevor Chalobah, it's completely not the case. He's composed, he's mature on the ball, and similar to other players like Reece James, like Hudson-Odoi, I think they'll just keep on getting better with every game they play and every kind of season they complete. Because you have to remember, this is Trevor Chalobah's full complete season now. I mean, he's completing it at the moment in the senior men's squad. So better things to come as well, which is really, really promising from a Chelsea perspective.
Yeah, and he definitely took his goal well, and. I was surprised to see him on the team sheet. I know I said I'd start him, but to actually see him in a game with that much experience on the pitch from a Juventus perspective and also from our perspective as well, but to see him start and look so comfortable, like he looks. Obviously, a lot of people are going to say that's down to Thiago Silva being next to him, and he's learning off Silva, Rudiger, Christensen, who are all experienced, but. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's at home at Chelsea, and obviously that's because he's been there. I think. Maybe since he's 7 or 8 years old. He's been there for that long. So, Haida, I'll come to you as well. Defensively, we were brilliant, but going forward, talk to us how good we were going forward as well.
Just quickly on Chalobah, I went to watch Chelsea Tottenham at pre-season this season, and he started, and that was the first time I've ever seen him play. And within about half an hour, my brother was with me, and I said to him, I said, you see this defender right here? He's going to break through into this team this year, because the way he was so composed and how he read the game, the ball would come to him and it would just be head up and away it goes. There was no dwelling. It didn't seem like he was nervous. He just seems like he fitted into that team. And I personally would put that down to the defenders around him and the management. He seems like his like you were saying, Theo, his temperament seems to be on point, and I think that's vital. When you're in this type of league. Going forward with the attack, I mean, it was just. We were just. Do you know what I mean? I was just watching and I was thinking, oh, come on. I was watching at my missus's house and she was even looking at it. She was like, you guys are going crazy. And it was just attack after attack after attack. And it seemed like Juventus had no way out. Every time they would try to clear it, like our line was on the halfway line, and the way we were pressing it, it was like we were men possessed. And I feel like the game against Man City this season. I feel that was the change. That was where we kind of changed the mindset of we can't go into games against big teams thinking that they might come to us. We have to take it to them. And every big game that we've played since, even the Liverpool game, when we were down to 10 men, we were still going at them, and I love this mindset of we're fearing nobody anymore. And that's what it looked like with the attack. There was zero respect and there was zero fear from the players. And going forward, I think that's only going to be amazing for us.
And it's interesting as well because you look at the players that started and the players that didn't start. You look at obviously no Lukaku, no Havertz, those kind of players that some teams would potentially miss if they didn't have them in that squad against a Juventus. But we didn't have an out-and-out striker on the pitch, and we still managed to score 4 goals. 4 of them coming from obviously Cobham sort of developed players in terms of Reece James, Chalobah, and Callum Hudson-Odoi, who I thought was exceptional. I thought he had Cuadrado on toes all the time. I think Cuadrado gave up about half an hour into it. He just thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I think at one point he drags him down, he gets booked for it, and he gets subbed off. He was probably relieved, to be honest, that he came off the pitch. But I was impressed with every aspect of our game. I thought Loftus-Cheek coming in and doing a job as well was perfect. The only downsides, obviously, we've got to talk about big injuries in terms of N'Golo Kante, who I think wasn't as bad, but Ben Chilwell's was definitely as soon as he went down, clutching his knee, banging the ground, you knew it was a bad one.
You could tell, couldn't you? You could tell it
was a bad one.
Yeah, it wasn't just a knock. Like he had felt something, and straight away, you could tell there was a horrible injury.
Yeah. And this is a question here from Hector as well, in terms of what's our options of Alonso at left back? Do we need to sign another left back? Should Emerson be called back? We must sign another left back in the winter in 2022. So I personally, for me, I wouldn't sign one. I think we've got enough there. I think we've got Emerson, who's on loan, Ian Maatsen, who's at Coventry, who's playing perfect for Coventry. Those would be my 2 options to bring one of them back. We've still got Azpilicueta, who can also play there. But Theo, I'll bring it to you, seeing as the question's directed to you. What would you do if you was Tuchel? Would you bring someone back or go into the market and try and bring someone in?
I don't think I'd go into the market. That wouldn't be very sensible. I think first we need to assess how long this injury for Ben Chilwell is going to take, because it's still unsure if it's going to be 3 or 4 months or if it's going to be the whole season. If it's the whole season, maybe I'd look at an Emerson or preferably Maatsen, I think, because I think Maatsen would be more happy to play second fiddle maybe to an Alonso or an Azpilicueta. I think the most sensible thing to do, or at least trial for the month of December, is Alonso and Azpi in that left wing back position. I was on a pod in midweek, and I never knew this, but apparently Sao Niguez played left wing back at Atlético Madrid for a few games earlier this season. It's not his preferred position, but that's also an option should we really need. And I think Pulisic's played there once or twice for us as well. I know it's, again, not his preferred position, not his strongest position, but we have those options. And we have to remember that Alonso started the season very, very well in left wing back position, and only red hot, Ben Chilwell managed to kind of, get him out the team. So, I'd be happy with Alonso and Azpi and hope that Ben Chilwell maybe comes back into this team April, March time, if all goes well. But yeah, if it's an ACL, it's bad news. It's a big blow. But yeah, Alonso can easily do the job in December and the coming months.
Would you agree with that, Haida?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's no need to panic by. And again, Chilwell came into this team. He broke into the team this season based on his own performances, not on the fact that perhaps Alonso was playing bad, because Alonso was doing really well. So I don't think we need to panic. The system that we have suits Alonso. The fact that our fullbacks, they will have to defend every now and then, but I feel predominantly they're there to attack. They're there to go forward. That is what, if it comes down to it, my own opinion is Alonso is better at Chilwell in the final third of the pitch. So again, if it's a big game and we need to be a bit more defensive, like Theo said, we have Azpilicueta. If it's, a cup game where it's doesn't matter much. We have a Pulisic, we have a Hudson-Odoi, and we have a Saul if it needs be. And in the big games, I play Alonso. I don't think you need to bring anyone back because it could halt and it could slow down their own development. Just looking at Ian Maatsen or something like that. But going forward, I wouldn't dip into the market. I definitely wouldn't.
I was just going to add, my one worry is that Alonso and Chilwell, both of them being fit, almost brought like healthy competition out of each other. They were, really pushing each other for that starting position. But now that Chilwell's injured, I just really hope Alonso doesn't drop a level, knowing that his, place in the starting 11 is.
Yeah, we've got Mr. Reliable as well. Aspilicueta shouldn't be overlooked. You can put him anywhere in that team, and what you're going to get is effort, and he's gonna do his best to fit in. So, we don't need to panic.
No need to panic.
My only worry around Aspilicueta is his legs, and he isn't the fastest anymore, and that does worry me. I think throughout December we've got a game every 3 days from the 1st till the 30th of December. So that's a lot of football for someone who isn't naturally playing on the left side of it. If you're talking about Hudson-Odoi or Saul Niguez, who I think that's why he fell out with Atlético. I think that's one of the reasons why he fell out, because he was being played as a left wing back, and that's not his natural position. So I think he was happy to come to Chelsea and try and play midfield. So to put him there, I'm not sure if he'd want to do it as well. So my only worry is the amount of games we've got just in December, and then obviously you look beyond that as well. For me, I think it's a season-ending injury. I don't think he'll be back. I don't think even if he does come back, he's coming back at that sort of period where he's going to have to get back to full fitness, and he may as well just start again next season. So for me personally, I would potentially consider Maatsen, only because, yes, he's playing second fiddle, but I think the expectation of him playing second fiddle is what he's going to be expecting, rather than bringing Emerson back, who would potentially want to play more football. I think it makes sense to have that cover there, and I think Tuchel would prefer to have the cover. Anything happens to Alonso, then what do we do then? And then the window shuts. So I think you've got to have that sort of long-term vision, expect the unexpected. We've seen it before when we lost our goalkeepers. We lost Cech and Cudicini in the same season. We ended up playing Hilario, I think, for most of that sort of period as well. So it does happen when you lose your two sort of natural, first choice sort of positioned players. But I think you've got to have enough cover in there. And I think Tuchel would like that. I think he would prefer to have enough cover, someone who's naturally used to playing there. And like you said as well, Haider, as well, we've got Brentford, I think, next in the cup on the 24th or 22nd of December.
Yeah.
So that, for me personally, if we get through that Brentford game, and whoever we get next, it's an option that you can bring someone like him in. So for me personally, I'd recall one of the two. Ideally not Emerson, because I'm not a big fan of him anyway. But I've seen enough about Ian Maatsen to understand that he can play a role, whether it's a small role or a bigger role, if needed to as well.
I remember watching Maatsen, I think, against Grimsby in the Cup when we played him at Stamford Bridge in Lampard's first season, and he was quite impressive. He's quite pacey, he's quite skillful, and that's what you kind of need as a left wing back. And he's also a Cobham academy boy, so whatever they put in his breakfast cereal has been doing the job recently. So
you can't forget as well that the level he would be expected to come into play at is completely different to what he is playing at the moment. And if you look at all the academy boys that have broken into the team and that are playing at a high level right now, they've completed seasons on loan. They've developed properly, and I feel like if we do cut it short, it would be a lot of pressure on him. It would be a lot of pressure. So if it was down to returning somebody, I would go for Emerson, purely because he's played in big nights. He's played in big games. He's played with the squad. They know him, and will there be enough time for Maatsen to, develop into the team, mix well with the players? It could go wrong with him, I feel. And that's why I'll play the safe option of just leave him there, let him develop for a full season. And the option's always there to bring him back later on.
It's a good shout. I want to ask a question. I think we've spoke about this before on here around Saul Niguez. Is he finished? Is he finished at Chelsea, Haider?
Yeah, he is. No, I'm just looking at where he would fit in. What can he offer? And if he can offer something, what can he offer that's better than what we already have? And from every single angle you look at it, there's, unless you two can see something that I can't see, there's nothing that I would say, bring him in here because he would do better than even at fullback. I'll take Azpilicueta over him all day long. All day long, I wouldn't risk him, and I feel like the pace of the English football doesn't suit him. I've seen him a couple of times live. Yeah.
I do agree with everything you've said, but now that we've got Kovacic injured, we've got Kante injured, Jorghino was a doubt even for the Juventus game. I know he started, but injuries will happen in December, and I feel like if he plays a part in December, then he'll stay for the season. If he's still isolated from the team come end of December, then I think his time's done at Chelsea.
But even in centre mid, with all those injuries, you've got Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek who are fit right now. Even if it got to a point where one of them got injured as well, I personally think Tuchel will put Mason Mount in that midfield before him.
You saw that in the FA Cup last season a few times.
Barkley as well.
Or Ross Barkley. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough personally.
I think he's good enough. I just don't think he's the fit for Chelsea, and I think that's a shame for him.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good player. I just don't think. I agree with you. I don't think that the pace of the Premier League, he's been able to adapt to that, and that's a big factor when you're coming from La Liga or Serie A or anywhere else across Europe to come into the Premier League. It is a bit of a difference, and if you don't pick that up straight away, you do obviously then have to do a little bit more extra legwork to try and pick that pace up. So I think for me, it would be a shame to obviously lose him. But again, I don't want to see any of the other players who are playing well lose their position to try and fit him in. I just don't think he's the right fit for Chelsea. So again, I think I mentioned it. We spoke Hazard to Newcastle. Sal Niguez, Newcastle. Why not? Let's ship him off
maybe,
there.
Maybe if you need some game time.
Just give him some game time,
I still feel like it's harsh because we're judging him on a game and a half, is it? I feel that's the one thing that I want to see a bit more of him, maybe 2 or 3 more games to really make up my mind. But
I think he smashed it, T. It's the system. It's the system that doesn't suit him. I think he'd do well in a 3-man midfield, where there's more legs around him, and less pressure on that pivot role of, we've seen it. That pivot centre mid for Chelsea is everything to that system. If that doesn't work, the whole system doesn't work. And I feel like we might be being a bit too harsh by saying, he's washed and he's that, but it's definitely the system for me. I agree with you.
There's a question here which sort of leads us on to the next point as well, because I've been shouting. I think I said it to you, Theo, but I did have a few drinks after I'd said this. But I said we were the best team in the world. I'm going to lower that down a level and say we're the best team in Europe at the moment. But do you think we're clearly favourites now for the Premier League?
Europe is the world.
Exactly, I was about to say.
Europe is the world. Man.
Outside of Europe, which football teams are you going to look at? LA Galaxy, Seattle
Fluminense,
Sounders,
Sao Paulo.
Listen, I'm just trying to be.
Let's win the Club World Cup. Let's win the Club World Cup, and then we'll be the best team in the world. Yeah.
There you go. When we win that, we're the best team in the world.
I think we, based on current form, based on how we're playing, based on how the manager's getting the best out of every single player, I'm going to say we are the best team in Europe or the world, whatever you prefer. But yeah, I think obviously you can look at Liverpool, you can look at Man City, who are playing very, very well, but the actual kind of way, I think Tuchel's, as I said, he's getting the best out of every single player, the individual performances players are putting in, and the improvement that players are showing, like Reece James, like Hudson-Odoi, like Trevor Chalobah, is phenomenal. Then outside of the Premier League, you maybe look at Bayern and PSG, but PSG, from what I saw from them against Man City, I'd happily have them in the Champions League. I might, those are famous last words maybe, but that was not a performance that would make me think, they can win the Champions League. So I think we're playing, the football we played against Juventus was champagne football. Honestly, it was beautiful. That the Loftus-Cheek setup for Hudson-Odoi was like he was on an 8-a-side football pitch or something, and it was phenomenal. And I don't think we're seeing, as like I said, if Kante goes off injured, we can bring on Loftus-Cheek. I know that Man City, maybe, if Rodri goes off injured, they bring Fernandinho. It's not really the same. I don't know. If we've got so many players that can come off the bench and make an impact. We've got a manager that's getting the players to play football that they seem to be enjoying, that they're happy. And it seems to be the first time at Stamford Bridge on on Tuesday night. I was at the game. I felt like a real connection, not with the players and the fans. And you could see that when Hudson-Odoi scored, that the celebrations and that passion. I hadn't seen that maybe since the 4-4 draw with Ajax a very long time ago. So there finally seems to be this, the players are playing for the fans, they're playing for the manager, and then obviously when that happens, the form comes as well. And I think I told you as well, TDOT, it's the first time in a very long time I walk to Stamford Bridge every day for games, expecting a win, expecting a clean sheet, and expecting, goals. And that's the first time, that's happened in probably since, I want to say the first Kante season. But even then, we were still conceding quite a few. So it is, I'd say we are the best team in the world at the moment based on current form.
We've got to mention the guy in the back there, Thiago Silva, because his goal line clearance, I forgot to mention it, was superb, man. Hyder, let me ask you, is he still good enough? Because there's obviously talk about him getting another year's contract extension at Chelsea. Is he still good enough to be sort of considered a first team Chelsea player for another year?
I mean, you look at it, and what other answer is there? A lot of people are going to sit there and say, his age, and he's past his sell-by date. But tell me what defender in the Premier League is performing at his level.
There isn't any.
I can't see it.
There isn't any at the moment.
It's not to say he's the best individual centre back in the world or in the Premier League, and his attributes are better than. But football these days, it all comes back to the system. Okay, if the system works, you're going to be the best team in the world if the players you have fit that system. It's no longer about individuals in a team who are going to win you games. We saw that at PSG. Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. That's a FIFA team. But
ultimate team.
It's an ultimate team. Let's be honest about it. But no one was tracking back. I saw Michael Owen and Rio Ferdinand do analysis on that. None of them went back past the halfway line, and it meant that City were attacking in numbers, which just washed them away. With Thiago Silva, it's such a perfect system for him, where he has two centre backs next to him who are going to be aggressive, who are going to do the dirty work, who they're all on the same page in terms of their lines and stuff like that. For me, he's definitely the best centre back in the Premier League at the moment. And the way he's going as well, I was reading that he doesn't train as much as the other players, so he's being looked after. There's another year in him. There's definitely another year in him, and we'd be stupid not to, even if it's not playing every single game. Having him in the changing room, having him around the squad, it's a given. It's an absolute given when you got players like Chalobah, Reece James coming into the team, all these youth academy players now breaking into the team and trying to make the spot their own. When you look up to who, you look at players who you look up to, who better in the world as a professional and as a player than Thiago Silva?
Completely agree. He's aged like a fine wine.
Literally. Literally. Question there around the last 16. Obviously, we made it through to the last 16 now. So, Theo, I'll come to you first. Out of those teams, who would you prefer to play next?
I mean, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. I do kind of agree with that, but it would be nice to have a relatively easier team in the round of 16, make it a bit more comfortable before getting to the quarterfinals. Out of that list there, I think it depends on whether we finish first or second, but if we beat Zenit, we'll finish first, so let's focus on that. I'll easily take a Barcelona. I think we can take them on easily based on how poor they've been. They looked awful against Benfica once again. I know they've got a new manager in, and they brought in Dani Alves maybe to create that 2015 vibes again. There's even talks of Iniesta coming back to the team, but I don't think that would make a difference. But yeah, I'd like to maybe play on the Portuguese teams. That'll be a nice away trip in February and March. So a Benfica or Sporting Lisbon, or even Porto, get to travel back to Portugal. That'd be nice. But yeah, I'd take any team really. I would like to avoid PSG. I know I said I'd play them and I think we could beat them, but I'd rather avoid them until the quarters maybe. But I'd say one of the Portuguese teams or Barcelona.
What's nice is that for a change, I think every single team on that list there doesn't want to play us.
I was just about to say that.
I think every single team from Man City can't, but all those teams there, from the best to the worst, I think every single one is thinking avoid Chelsea, avoid Chelsea at all costs, because we're so tunnel visioned right now. With like a lot of people I know who hate Chelsea, who have written us off in the past are sitting here saying now you're favourites for the Champions League again. And I think we are. I think when it comes down to it, it's us and Man City. And what Theo said, he honestly he smashed it. I think the fans are going to make the difference. You looked at PSG game with the Man City PSG game. If that was at the Bridge, you know, if that game, that exact same scenario, we go a goal down and then we end up winning 2-1. Bridge would be rocking.
Etihad didn't look rocking, did it? It was very like expected or just.
I don't think it's ever rocked, to be fair.
You know, it was a sellout because Messi was in town, and it just felt like a theatre they've just come to watch,
entertainment.
And they've come to admire. But in terms of passion, in terms of getting the team over the line, I feel like City's individual talent and again the system got them the win. Whereas with us, I feel like in a situation like that, the fans will push us over the edge. And going forward, I think that's why we're favourites for the Champions League again.
Yeah, I can't see anyone bar maybe Liverpool. I always have to throw them in there because I feel like they're a team that just goes about their business quietly, and then come the end of the season, we start saying, well, they do look very, very good, especially going forward. Defensively, okay, maybe not the best, but I still think they've got enough about them to definitely challenge for the Champions League and the league as well, obviously. So I'd put them in the mix as well. So we'll have to see. But I agree with both of you. I think on that list, to be the best, you gotta beat the rest. So 100%, I agree with that. Conor Gallagher, I think we spoke about him on here before.
Yeah. Listen, go back to that episode. We've spoken long depth.
Next season. Next season.
He'll be back at Chelsea in the summer, we hope.
Yeah. Let him develop, and I think we're gonna have a gem on our hands next season.
100%, and I think the same with Mendy as well. I think he's definitely, for me, arguably the best goalkeeper in the world right now. I can put my hand on my heart and say that one. He's probably the best goalkeeper. You've
noticed as well in the past few games, I'd say 6 or 7 games, his distribution has just gone up a notch. He's always been a shot stopper. He's always been aggressive and commanding in his box. I think from day one that he's come in, he's shown that, what Kepa lacked in terms of presence, not being scared, dominating. He's always had that. But I felt like if it was anything he needed to improve on just slightly was that distributing between the lines. So not the long kicks, but just being confident enough to play that through ball that will eliminate 3 or 4 players, and then we can go. And I've seen that. I've seen that in the past few, and that's where I think he's now gone to another level of being called the best in the world.
I think what makes him world class as well, and we saw that in the Leicester game on last Saturday, and again against Juventus, nothing to do all game. And then there's that one moment where that shows that he's fully concentrated during those 90 minutes, whether it was a long shot or something else, and he pulls off that save. That's maybe another keeper will just have a bit of a lapse in concentration and let in. So concentration-wise, and shows his elite mentality.
There's a bit about him off the pitch. Have you been seeing?
Yeah, he's quite vocal now, and he wants to show that. No, I like that, and he's completely right. He's making a good points as well. So let him carry on doing that.
If anything, that just shows us that there's more and more leaders being born in that changing room,
which is needed
forward,
as well.
That's only good going forward,
Definitely,
that warrior mentality of we'll take on anything.
Definitely, no, 100%. Let's move to Sunday. Big game. The nerves are already kicking in a bit because it's United, and no one wants to lose to United, especially at the moment. Hector's put down a prediction there, which I'm sure we'll do our own shortly. But let's talk about the game. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel's got a press conference in about half an hour. But would you like to see Lukaku start, Haider?
No, not yet.
No.
Not yet. Would I like to see him fully fit start 100%? But is it the right time for him to actually start? In a game where he hasn't had any minutes. I don't think that's realistic. You also don't fix something that isn't broken. Not to say that he's not going to come back into the team, and when he's fully fit, that role is his, and we're going to have him at the top of the pitch. But I personally, if we're winning comfortably, I'd bring him on. But I would start with Pulisic up front.
I was impressed with him. I thought he played really well. And I feel like, again, I've said this on here before, if we can keep Pulisic fit I think we're going to get a brilliant player out of him. I think the problem that he's had has been hindered with a lot of injuries, and there've been injuries that have kept him out of the game for long periods of the season. So I think he just needs a run of games where we can test him as well, and he can test himself. And these kind of big games against like a United or Man City, Liverpool, whoever, those top teams, if we can call United that, but those kind of games, he needs to step up. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to do that.
When you look at United's defence recently and how leaky it's been,
Have they got one?
well, so-called defence, I think the last thing we need to do right now is go and have a physical battle with them up front, because that gives defenders confidence. If you win your first header and then you win your second header, and all of a sudden whereas players like Pulisic, who are going to run between lines, run behind defenders, going to have their centre-backs always on their toes, always thinking. And I think that's where United's defence breaks down. So yeah, definitely not Lukaku to start with. Definitely. But we've got problems now with attacking options. Because Hakim Ziyech now is performing.
Good problems.
Mason Mount's
good
not
problems
performing.
now.
Havertz, on and off. Callum Hudson-Odoi on form. So would you not go with the same kind of lineup that we started with in Juventus? Barring the injuries, of course.
I probably would, but maybe switch Pulisic. I'd put him in his natural position, maybe put Werner up front, and just for that pace, and then maybe drop Ziyech or bring him off the bench, or bring Lukaku on off the bench. I'd bring Lukaku on, as you said. I wouldn't start him. I would have started him had he got maybe 20 minutes against Juventus, but he's got no match fitness in him. So I think I'd love to see him score against United as well, being his ex-club. But yeah, I think and regarding Pulisic, I don't think it was his most impactful game against Juventus, but the movement, his movement looked great. The spaces he created was brilliant. So yeah, I wouldn't be too disheartened if he started as a false nine again as well.
What are we saying then? So we obviously need 3 points against United.
Who would you go with
up front?
Yeah, well, yeah, like up top.
I think I'd stick with Pulisic. I want to see more of him. I want to see what he can do. I agree, though. I think it'd be good to. I wouldn't start Lukaku. I said on the previous episode, I think if he was going to start in the Juventus game, I said he needs minutes before United. You can't throw him in cold into that game, and I still stand by that. I think if you're going to put him into a big game like that, I would have brought him on Tuesday. And the fact that he didn't come on tells you that he's clearly not fully ready to come back into any sort of shape or form. So I think I'd start with Pulisic and leave it as it was, because it works. And you've got to remember as well, we don't rely on just our attacking players to score goals. We've got Reece James, I think, on 5 goals or something now. He might even be top goal scorer, I think. But we've got goals coming from all areas of the pitch. So naturally, you can afford to put a Pulisic up front and make the runs or do whatever, and still expect a Reece James or N'Golo Kante, who's injured now, but someone like that to go and get a goal.
Is he not fit for the Man United game, Kante?
We'll find out in about
27
minutes. Yeah, but I think, to be honest, it didn't look as bad. I think his was more precaution, whereas obviously Chilwell was right off car crash. So I think I'd expect, but to be honest, Kante's had a couple of those kind of weird injuries now. He's had obviously the odd knocks and it's kept him out. So
it's the intensity he plays at, isn't it?
It might not be a bad thing.
To catch up a little bit with him. Yeah,
it might not be a bad thing for him not to play in this game as much as we'd miss him. I think, like I just said before, we've got a game every 3 days in December, so we're going to need him for that period as well. And if he gets injured in a United game, he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. It's a big loss. So I'd rather
we'll need Kovacic fit as well, I think.
Exactly. So I think we need to start using the depth that we've got in the squad and using it really well. Maybe even bring in a Loftus-Cheek who can do a job there as well. So I wouldn't play Lukaku. I'll probably leave it with Pulisic. But Werner's a good shout. He got his goal. He's got a bit of confidence, I'm sure, after that goal. Albeit, I think it's about the 94th minute, wasn't it? I think he scored on Tuesday. So, let me talk to me about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Theo, because obviously you've got a comment there about Loftus-Cheek, and he played really well on Tuesday. So, would you start him?
Yeah. If Kante is not fit, if Kovacic is not fit, I'd be more than happy seeing Jorghino and Loftus-Cheek in that midfield. I think what we see a lot of Jorghino is that he sits back, allowing whoever's playing alongside him, if it's Kante, if it's Kovacic, to go up the pitch. And that's what Ruben likes to do best, is to drive up the pitch and take on midfielders and defenders. So I do agree with El Slade. I think he has to start, and he will start. And when he came on against Juventus, I think his appearance was actually really, really promising. He's winning balls now, which is something we didn't really see in his game, previously when he's at Chelsea. He's intercepting, passer, so I think he's doing everything that, a centre midfielder should be doing, and that's probably the Tuchel side of his game that's been brought in. So United, I think he's only started, I don't know how many Premier League games he started. I think he started against Southampton, and he looked good.
It's a handful, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2, I think.
He should be starting more. He deserves to be starting more. And we started away in Sweden against Malmo. He was sublime. So I think he should be starting on Sunday. And I actually think he will put in a very, very good performance should he start.
You look at their midfield as well. I think he's got the beating of every single one of their midfield, especially physically. When he's on the ball and he's dribbling the way. You know what he did to Rabiot? Did you see what he did to Rabiot? And it was like playing against a little kid, wasn't it? And I feel like Rabiot is a decent midfielder.
Experienced,
He's not some joke, And I feel like McTominay and Fred are not at that level. Even if he's going to throw in a Matic, I think it could be the perfect game for him to kind of send a message out. Chelsea United dominates that midfield. And then going forward, I think it would kickstart his push to start every single game.
Agree.
I would definitely start him. 100%. I would start Ruben.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that as well. I think nothing about and this is going to probably come back to haunt me, so I'm going to say it. And if I need to edit it out later, I will. but nothing worries me about United at the moment. There's nothing that I worry about. And I look at the defence. The goalkeeper's questionable. He gets beaten quite a lot at the near post. Doesn't worry me. The centre backs don't worry me. Wan-Bissaka doesn't worry me. Telles or Shaw don't worry me. The midfield doesn't. You look at maybe a Mason Greenwood, who I'm not sure if he's even fit. I don't know. Cavani, Ronaldo, those sort of players. They don't worry me.
Individually, they're very good. But I feel like our defenders are like bouncers.
Yeah, they just stop everything.
Do you know? You just know Rudiger within 3 minutes he's going to grab someone's ear and he's going to give someone a little bit, or he's going to step.
You need that sort of player.
When the ball's going off, he's going to push someone off the pitch just to kind of remind them,
Thiago Costa vibes.
As well. Exactly.
Got to be careful. It's Anthony Taylor. He's got to be careful. Yeah. Do it on the sly, on the sneak.
Yeah,
I agree with you. You need those kind of players that rough the other team up a little bit and just put them off a little bit.
Yeah, and you look at just on Ruben as well. You see how many players he attracts to him.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, his drive forward makes so many attacks. Exactly, that's it.
Yeah.
You looked at the goal, Callum Hudson-Odoi's goal. I mean, he was just waiting for it. He was waiting for it just to be put on a plate for him.
Yeah.
And he had about 4 or 5 players just trying to get to him, and that's only good. That's only good going forward for our wingers, for our attacking players. It frees up a lot of space.
It shows the quality that teams, or the threat that teams see that he's got. Because any player like that, if
he's not a common player.
Yeah.
If you look at the Premier League right now, and I'm not, but because he hasn't achieved what Yaya Toure has achieved. But to my memory, that type of style, I can't think of anyone apart from Yaya Toure who's of a similar type of style.
Yeah, of course.
So when you don't play against a style every single week, it's difficult to deal with. Because even in training, you're not dealing with that in your own players. So, yeah, I mean, the world's his oyster, I reckon, man. It's just about mentality and keeping fit.
Let's talk about predictions. Our favourite part, predictions. At about 7 o'clock on Sunday, are we going to be happy or are we going to be thinking, what did we do wrong? I'll go first. I'm going to say 2-0 Chelsea. I think it's going to be an easy game for us. I think nothing worries me about this team. And this might come back to haunt me, like I said, but I just think, even if we don't start Lukaku and we play Pulisic or Werner, Loftus-Cheek, if he does start, will be the pivotal in that midfield. I can't see United doing us any problems. If I'm honest, I'm going to go 2-0. Theo, I'll come to you.
I can see United getting a jammy goal simply because, look, against Villarreal, they were very poor. But, they've got Ronaldo who can just score that 80th minute annoying goal and get them a point or even 3 points at times. But then again, I think we've got enough firepower to score 3. And I think if Hudson-Odoi will start, I think, and he will score. So I'm going to go with 3-1 Chelsea.
I'm going to go purely based on their games against big teams and how they fall apart so quickly and how we're playing in the form that we're in. I'm going to be confident about it. I'm going to go for a 4-0. I think we're going to absolutely wipe the floor with them.
I like it.
I'm liking his confidence, but at the same time, it's kind of worrying.
just based on, Man City could have scored 18, I reckon, that game. Yeah. They were just messing around. They were literally Liverpool absolutely destroyed them. So I feel like when they come up against well-oiled, drilled machines who are, proper structured teams, I think they fall apart.
I mean, Watford scored 4 against them, so why can't we?
Yeah, but Ranieri teams are well organised.
They are, yeah.
This is my point. Any team that's half organised against them, I feel like individually you don't have to be better than them, but as an organised team, you can do what you want with them at the moment.
Do you know what as well? I think it's strange because obviously United have changed the manager, but the whole backroom staff is still there. So everything that Ollie is put in place, it's still the same people who were doing it when Ollie was there. So I don't really see until someone else comes in, and obviously they've got talks with people at the moment. But until something
Villarreal game was similar style, wasn't it? Like they won, fair enough. But
it's the same style. It's the same.
How many times have we seen them do that with Ollie?
Yeah.
Not play great, not play amazing against an average team, and then win at the end
result.
Yeah,
it happens, and I think Carrick being there, Mike Phelan still being there, it's Darren Fletcher, it's all the same people that was sat underneath Ollie who were making those calls anyway and doing all the rest of it. So I can't really see much difference. So I see us winning the game, but if we lose, we might have to. Top. Well, we're still top, but we might have to postpone the recording for a few days.
I'm not recording next week if we lose.
We've got to. To be fair, if we lose, we've got to show our faces. We love when we win, so we've got to hate when we lose as well. But it's going to be a good game. I think. Obviously, Sunday 4:30. Kante, we're not sure. I think comment there around Kante. We'll find out. Thomas Tuchel, I'm sure, will tell us how he's doing. It didn't look too bad, to be fair. So I think if he's fit, I'm sure Thomas Tuchel's going to want him in the team. But let's move on to Kante and Jorginho for the Ballon d'Or. I'm going to come to you first, Haidar, because I think it's important that we don't sort of use the whole Messi Ronaldo thing, which is what has happened for years, to kind of overshadow the fact that Kante and Jorginho, for me personally, have definitely got a shout for winning the Ballon d'Or. Would you agree?
I would agree, yeah. I 100% would agree. But in terms of the Ballon d'Or itself, I think we all spoke before the podcast. Rumors are coming out that it is Messi. It seems like he has bagged it. Yeah, I know. I think maybe a year or two probably.
Has he bagged it, or did he pay for it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think in terms of if they're actually going to win it, I don't think that's going to happen. But if it comes down to choosing between the two, I'd say Jorginho merited it more for me. You look at what he's done with Italy. You look at what he's done with Chelsea. You look at his impact on a system. I would say out of all the players in the Chelsea starting 11, the one player who I would say if we took out may affect the system slightly would be Jorginho, purely because he knows it. His intelligence is above everyone else. Physically, he may not be there. He might not be the quickest. He might not be the strongest. But in terms of his intelligence, I think he's probably at the moment one of the smartest footballers in the world, if you can say that. For me, I would have had him as the Ballon d'Or winner personally. A lot of people will say he's a defensive midfielder, but just purely based on an impact on a team, I would go with him over Kante.
Do you agree, Theo?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, if Messi wins the Ballon d'Or, I think it's daylight robbery. I just will literally give up on that award. I would never even read any articles or watch the ceremony or anything like that for the next 10 years because I think it's a joke. in players that actually deserve it, I think Kante and Jorginho definitely deserve it. You look at the impact they've had on Chelsea games, particularly in those Champions League knockout games, and the pair of them was sublime. They were fantastic. And again, in the Champions League final, Jorginho again was at the Euros. You take him out, that Mancini system, like I'd say, or that Tuchel system. I think I do agree he's one of our most important players. And, you'll see a difference. You won't maybe see us play as well, or you won't see that Italian team play as well as they did in the Euros. So I still think the criteria of the Ballon d'Or is just so blurry at the moment. What actually you need to do to win it? Do you need trophies? Do you need individual performances? Do you need man of the match awards? But I think if you kind of take a mix of all of that, I do think Jorginho deserves it. I think I'm kind of would like to see Lewandowski deserve it, because I think he deserved it in 2020. But at the same time, I'd love to see a defensive midfielder win it, just like I'd like to see a centre-back and a goalkeeper win it, because I think there's more to football now than just goals and assists. Like you'll probably get all the player,
like you're saying.
There has to be clarity
now on what the agenda is to win it. And even going down the route of making two different.
Exactly. I was going to say, if a player like Jorginho doesn't win it this year, then surely create a separate award for defenders,
players not based on
midfielders.
Stats. Yeah,
not players that
trophy and a player like performance-based trophy.
Yeah, but if next week we lose to Man United and Messi's won the Ballon d'Or, I'm not showing my face on this podcast.
To be honest, I agree with both of you. I think Jorginho, for me personally, based on his Chelsea season and obviously winning the Euros as well, it's hard to overlook. Maybe a bit of bias because he's Chelsea, but I think it's the same thing every year, isn't it? Messi or Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldo. And to be honest as well, I agree with what you said, Theo. I think the criteria thing is definitely the thing that is masking over what actually is the criteria to get the award. So is it just goals? If it's just goals, then of course, you look at Messi, Lewandowski or someone like that. But like you just said, a lot of the football now, without a decent goalkeeper, the goals don't really matter. For me personally, if you've got someone in midfield that is like, I think Kante got man of the match semi-final of the Champions League and potentially the final of the Champions League as well. So, those are big games for me, and not just those, but throughout the season as well. It just doesn't make sense to me, but we're used to it, or I'm used to it. I'm used to seeing Messi win the Ballon d'Or.
They're going to cling on to Messi winning his first Copa as an excuse to give it to
Mickey Mouse trophy, though.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's going to be I'm sure Messi, isn't it? Who wins it? Yeah, we spoke about the left back situation earlier, Elslade. I was of the opinion to bring back Maatsen. I think Haider and Theo were happy to leave him where he was. Leave him where he was. So if you listen back later on when the episode comes out, you'll be able to hear that. But in terms of the Ballon d'Or, I think it's going to be interesting if they actually do. Sometimes those leaks come out and they're not always right. So I'm clinging on to that someone's just gone on Twitter and thought, let me just spread a rumor, and it's spread like wildfire, which it can do. But I wouldn't put it past UEFA and FIFA or whoever to rub hands with the wrong people.
To be honest, I'm not waiting for their approval anymore either.
Yeah, we can make our own decision.
I mean, who are these people? Who are these guys? They're just old men in suits, just making decision on football based on who's paid the most and who's put the most. Because that's the reality of it. Whether we want to talk about that or not, or whether we want to go deep into that or not, that is the reality of it. And their judgment is not greater than our judgment.
If anything, ours is better. Ours is probably better. It's unbiased to an extent, apart from myself.
To an extent, yeah.
Normally it's unbiased, and as fans, we're not sort of taking backhand payments from some dodgy person to get an award. So I think for me personally, Jorginho and Kante have both done enough to definitely be considered, not just on the shortlist, but actually be considered to win it as well. It's one thing being on the shortlist, but to actually be in contention to win it, I think both of them have done enough over the last 12 months to definitely be considered to be part of that.
If England won the Euros, I would have thrown in Mount.
Oh, it's a tough
I would have, and
That's
no one stopped me. Do you know what I mean? I would have definitely thrown. It's purely based on Jorginho winning the Euros.
I slightly agree, but had we beaten Italy in that final, I still feel like Mount's contribution to get to that final maybe wasn't as impactful as Jorginho's when he got to the final. So
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I think it's Monday. So, like I said, it could be a really long weekend if we lose to United, and then Messi's crowned Ballon d'Or, and then obviously
Ain't
we've got a long week to go. But we're gonna beat United. Jorghino is gonna win a Ballon d'Or.
And we'll beat Watford on Wednesday as
And
well.
we'll beat Watford on Wednesday. We should beat Watford on Wednesday. Not we will. We should be beating them. But guys, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can find us From the Shed End. Just give us a search. And if you're looking for us on YouTube as well, you can also find us on there. So like, subscribe, just search From the Shed End on YouTube. Google us. You'll find us on all the social media platforms. Like, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. We're all on everything. We're just trying to be as busy as possible and get those numbers up. So yeah, give us a like. Make sure you comment as well. That's the most important part. Comment. Let us know your thoughts on what we've discussed today. And anyone who's tuned in on the live stream, we appreciate you coming on. Obviously, Man Knows Football. I was on there yesterday. Brilliant channel, brilliant content as well. So make sure you check them out. But this has been episode 38 of From the Shed End podcast. Theo, Haidar, thank you both for joining me as always.
Thank you, bro.
It's been a pleasure. So yeah, we'll be doing this, I'm sure, next week. Or Theo might not be.
Nah, he'll be here. We're gonna smash them.
I'll have my hood up like that.
but we'll definitely be back at some point next week. I'm not going to give you guys a date, but we'll be back. And yeah, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.